for the inaugural meeting of the solar committee. And let's see. Welcome, everybody. Does everyone know each other?
Not necessarily, so we should
Okay.
probably go around the table.
Yeah, my name is Chris Kinsella.
Greg Marlowe.
Daily Ravel.
Sergey Fedorchenko.
Corinna Fleming.
Peter Jensen,
Emily Peterson.
And Melissa Lopes.
Okay. I guess we'll just open up some discussion here, so everybody kind of knows what knows what the history of, maybe Greg can help us with that, the history of the proposed solar project and kind of like where we want to go, or where we think we might be able to go with it. Anyone?
Yeah, so this started last selectman term for Henry Todd, sort of chaired it up. I sort of spearheaded it and did all the dealings to get to the point where they made a proposal for X number of dollars. We get this size of a solar array, taking up so much room, et cetera. When he brought it to the Board of Finance, they had a list of questions, which I think Chris has brought it up here. Well, actually, they had some questions initially. I suggested that the representative from Greenleaf make a presentation to the Board of Finance, which they agreed to, and he did, and that went over well enough, I felt. At that point, that current Board of Finance had made a motion to send it to town meeting for the public to vote up or down, move forward. These are the details, size, location, money, and this is how we'll fund it type of thing. Elections came along, new Board of Finance put the brakes on, and they came up with this list of questions. Oh, let me back up just 1 second. So prior to this point, there's a lot of organizations that weren't talking. So the inland wetlands wasn't sure what was going on. Surely the rec commission had no idea what was going on. I'll be honest, as a selectman, I didn't quite know exactly what was going on. So we kind of just brought everybody together on site for a site walk, determined that where it showed on the map was no good. It took up quality land for many reasons. They proposed another spot next to it, next to where the old house was. And, you know, there's reasons that maybe is not a good spot. And then we looked at where the current chip pile is out by 63. And at that point, the consensus of that meeting was that would be maybe the best spot, the number one pick if it works. And then number two would be by the old house site, and there really wasn't number three. It was our understanding, and I don't know if this is the case, that it had to be on the particular parcel of the rec commission property. To get everybody, make sure we're all talking about the same thing. The rec commission property is sort of encompasses the transfer station. The transfer station property is actually, it's separate, but it's kind of an island inside of the rec commission property. And it was our understanding that we couldn't put it on the old landfill, because when we saw the cap landfill, we're like, you know, lights went off, we're like, this is a perfect spot and this is a perfect use for it. But it was our understanding that we couldn't, it had to be on that, somewhere on the property of the rec commission, because that's what the grant was given for. I don't know.
Was it the grant or was it the company? That's,
It was
stipulated
the
that.
grant process, which is Eversource and Greenleaf and the town.
so it was Greenleaf.
I couldn't,
But I don't, this is what I never saw it to, Daley, you may know, I know you looked at the. application.
yeah, a couple of weeks ago,
I have the
Dave-
file,
Dave
brought
gave
it
me
here tonight,
the
so everybody
propo-
else can
yeah.
get it back, yeah.
Dave gave me the proposal, and I looked through it, and I really couldn't find anywhere where it was specific to that area. I mean, there was, it talked about, you know, deed and, you know, but it didn't really say that, you know, that, a change in location or a change of ideas in location was gonna deep six the project, so.
I seem to remember when Greenleaf gave the talk, that there was talk about that we had to be,
On that particular.
that we couldn't
Well,
change
I
it
think-
now, we could have changed
But
it
I-
earlier or
but-
something, but if
but
we
I-
don't go with
I'm
Greenleaf,
curious
then.
if he knew it was contiguous property to the rec commission, 80 acres or whatever,
Probably not.
the town farm property.
Right.
Was
So
there,
I don't know.
was there an engineering or technical reason why it couldn't go on top of the compacted landfill?
We can get to that after,
This seems like a good use for it.
sure does, and, Lee Baldwin sent me a link. Of a company that actually installs, I think there's a lot that's gone on. Or a lot that, perhaps the Greenleaf proposal doesn't really cover. And, we're kind of bound to it because of the agreement that the previous administration made with Greenleaf, but maybe even just verbal.
I don't think we're
Excuse
bound to
me?
it, we have a certain time frame if we want to go with them, but if we want to go with somebody else.
Sure, so, in time,
Yeah.
like, as I said, I gave, Daley the proposal, and she's gone through it pretty extensively, and I think, do you wanna give
Yeah,
your,
I am ready to send it
your
around.
finding?
Are we there in the agenda? Okay, well, why don't we just move them down this way? Well, we do it this way.
Well, do you wanna
Hand them
do
down,
go to?
With the, okay,
just hand them down,
Oh, that's the whole
pass
package.
them along,
Okay.
all right? I think there's one for everybody.
okay, yeah, actually, Daley, pass them around,
Yeah.
and, we'll wait till we get to that on the agenda,
Exactly,
but
I thought that maybe you'd want to follow your agenda.
the,
Greg,
We all done?
just me, yeah. Oh,
one more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. All right.
so I think there's a lot of open questions, and they're, each of them are, those are the basis of our agenda today.
So on number 2, discussion of intent, we'll get to that now. Is that
Sure,
where we're
yep,
at? So we
yep.
get a review, but I don't know.
I guess the intent is, the intent was, to make the town more, green, and to, hopefully relieve some of the, you know, the energy burden,
The cost.
the cost, right? Um,
In intent, is there any intent to do this in some ethical way and not financial way? Meaning, if it costs the town money, would it still go forward
To
as a
be-
project? Or
like-
rather, is it the intent also to save the town and
the-
taxpayers
Strictly
money?
well, not strictly.
Yeah,
The idea is to save the taxpayers
okay,
money.
that's good
Uh,
intent.
And also to be a leader in the green energy initiative. You know, because if we want to get to a point, and this is me speaking for myself, and I sort of instigated this committee, or I had asked for this committee to be formed. Because I didn't want it to die somewhere in a thing without being really delved into and get the facts out and see if this is a good proposal, because I was not sure if it was a good proposal where it had left off. Just didn't know enough at that point. But, you know, I would be, personally, I'm less concerned with the cost of the taxpayer to a point. If there's a return on our investment, or there's a, you know, a green, you know, we have to get, in my opinion, we have to get solar started somewhere in this town. This may not be the perfect one, but I think since it's here, there's grant money. I think we owe it the obligation to do this, our due diligence, and see if it's
And
worthwhile.
you feel the town has to take the lead to do that?
I do believe
Okay.
that.
Well,
That's my.
I would
thought.
say. Yep, your intent is that even if there's an initial cost to the
Initial
town or
cost, right.
taxpayer,
Right,
There will be,
but not a,
I believe it'll pay for itself over time,
Yeah.
but that also needs to be looked at by somebody other than me. I haven't done the,
there has to be
calculations
return
are-
on investment.
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Or, you know, almost a net zero. Like I could actually live with a little bit of a cost. I believe it will pay for itself. For me, my intent would be to get something started as a momentum builder for the town.
and how would you then see that building momentum for anything else?
Well, so I would say if we can't use the capped landfill, we talked about it, let's use it for phase two or a next grant or a next investment in the town. The school really should have something on it. The fire department really should have something on it, I believe.
Mhm.
You know, so it's just that's how I see it as a starter.
Okay.
Let's prove it. You know, because everything we are, and I would be nervous too, the first time in, did we miss something? Are we?
Other people.
The-
That was me. The thing.
Do we know
Okay.
if there are any private initiatives that are people of interest doing something here? Because there are private initiatives all
Um,
over.
I think, the discussion of intent, I don't think it should be confined to something installed at the landfill. You know, maybe the initial, setup here should be on the school or at the firehouse or on the town garage.
well, except for that we have to stay somewhat within the grant restrictions,
But-
whatever they are.
the,
Well, is that in your presentation? Well,
uh,
then maybe we
let's
could,
look at, let's
Okay.
Daley really, has done quite a bit, so let's, do you wanna, anybody wanna add anything to, any other questions, new members in the discussion of intent?
I have a question. What determined the proposed size of the installation?
I can answer all that in this. I've had the whole file.
she's gonna give us. a
Yeah,
presentation.
let's just,
I know.
let's
Yeah,
familiar,
let's just jump to that because I think it'll.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, all
Well,
right, yeah.
If you think it's.
Well, let's just familiarize ourselves with the questions from the Board of Finance.
Okay.
And, so, Bernie, you wanna walk us through this one? You were on the.
This is the new
Ah,
board,
okay.
I'm not on it.
New board.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I
Okay,
have
so,
nothing to do with this one
uh,
anymore.
Some
There
of
was-
these things are not necessarily this project either. Bridge infrastructure.
well, I think they,
That was brought up because if we're gonna invest money, is there something more pressing
Okay,
needs?
gotcha.
And that's what that.
right.
is.
So, financial proposal including suggested financing options, which includes rate quotes and proposals from other community banks. I mean, that's a no-brainer. We can do that when we figure out what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's
How,
right.
You know,
That kind of like
that's-
the last thing.
that should be the last thing, right? So, information from the Bridge and Infrastructure Committee on town needs and costs, and we're working on that. There's a long laundry list of items that need attention. Um,
Are they pressing in a safety issue?
some of
that-
them are, yeah, or maybe not just safety, but, the compactor at the dump.
Okay.
You know, that type of thing. It's, so, yeah, there are,
Pressing.
in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, that there are some things that, would take precedent. The warranty agreement, that was a stickler for somebody on the Board of Finance,
Yeah.
and again, I'm not sure that until we are at a position with, you know, with an installation or an installer, that we can really,
Yeah.
you know.
So what that was is, they initially, had the warrant, it's not really called a warranty agreement, but it was, in essence, you pay a fee and they would fix it. It's kind of a warranty
Yeah.
agreement, but they use a different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And that's exactly what it was. And it turned out that they really didn't do much when we dug into what exactly their maintenance agreement was. That it seemed like a really poor investment to purchase that from them. So, but the Board of Finance wanted to know what it was. What was the maintenance agreement? What did it include? What did it not include? You know, is it?
It's a valid question.
A good thing or bad thing to have, so we didn't really know what it covered at that point, and that's why we made that list.
Yep. Cost of prep available sites, for the solar project, if, for instance, if we were gonna have it where the wood chip pile is, there's, probably 7,500 yards of wood chips that would have to get removed. If we wanted to, if we thought that the rec center was a viable site, then there would be obviously some prep there. to
In
do.
any spot that would.
Any spot.
It seems like these questions are very focused on the proposal.
Yeah, right.
But are we focused on the proposal or are we?
When,
is it a
well,
clean
that's the
slate
next
here?
item, and we'll get to that, and
Okay.
Daley
Okay.
will talk us out of the proposal, I think.
Okay, go for it then, okay, keep going.
The possibility of speaking with other solar companies.
Okay, well,
So
there we
here
go.
we've got something from Pope Energy that, recently was passed on to me.
Yeah.
How does the IRA credit affect non-tax paying entities? And I think that Daley has a comment on that. What is a return on investment calculation?
Should that be IRS?
I'm sorry.
IRA, is it IRS?
It's, well, because the proposal was written to be talked through rather than stand on its own. There was an implication that this was a tax advantage of some sort, and I think that's how that language got in there,
Okay.
but it is not any
Okay.
longer an
Okay,
issue.
okay.
Return on investment, we really can't figure that out yet. Solar agreement, contract proposal,
Same thing.
same thing. And, clarification on the new cost of the inverter. So there, I mean, there's a lot, they asked specific questions, and, we probably won't be able to,
Can't answer any of those.
right, until we.
Not yet.
Not yet, at least.
Okay, Daley,
Okay, you have 4 pieces of paper. The top sheet that says solar presentation is just my notes to myself, and I thought you'd find them perhaps useful. This sheet, which should be the second sheet that you're looking at, is the summary of the Greenleaf proposal. And their headings across the top, like, you know, tariff rates, and anyway, they're a little misleading or hard to understand, but I had a good discussion with the Greenleaf president, and all of that is now clear. And the last 2 pages are a spreadsheet that basically puts in the information that we do need. So this is a legend, which is sheet 2, and the first sheet is basically the same categories as the Greenleaf presentation, so they'll sort of line up. And I'm gonna walk you through them.
You dealt with the same, excuse me, the same person that dealt with the Board of Finance?
I have no idea who dealt with
Do
Board
you
of
have, do you have
Finance.
his name?
Yes, Sear, it's the one that, I don't have it on my notes, and I should, but I'll get it to you. He's the one that Dave said he had referred to me some time
So
ago.
it's probably the guy that.
Do you know the name of the
that's-
president of Greenleaf?
Yeah.
Well,
I
anyway,
think
neither
it's
one of,
Joe or something.
no, it's not Joe.
No, that was Frontier.
That was, yeah.
All right,
I
so
remember that
anyway,
proposal, holy
That's who it
smoke.
was.
But yeah, I'm just curious if it's the same person we're talking with. so
All right,
we get
well,
one story, but go
I
ahead.
have no idea. I was not at the Board of Finance presentation. So this is the deal. On the first sheet, the one with all the colors on it, the one from Greenleaf. The proposal is to spend $546,490. That is their number. To create a field of 462 solar panels. And that is in their presentation shown on the rec land, and there was nothing in their presentation that showed other locations. So I don't address other locations. A grant was applied for to Eversource for $163,000. That could go towards the purchase price of the project, which is the $546,490.
Just a quick question there was why 163 and why not 546,000 for the?
You're asking the wrong person.
Okay, you
All
just,
right.
you don't know. huh?
Oh, and of note, Daley, is this correct? And the grant would not be available until after 1 year of operation?
That is 100%
Yeah.
correct.
That's new
Okay.
news to me.
I know there was a time limit on it.
I thought it was to use, but I didn't know we wouldn't get the money for a year.
You will not get the money for a year.
Fine.
All right? Okay, kilowatt hour production of this particular field, this matrix, is estimated to be 277,300 kilowatt hours in the first year. And then be reduced by that 2% every year for the next 25 years. And this particular project is a 25-year horizon. Okay. There's an agreement with Eversource that has already been granted that will pay the town 20 cents per kilowatt hour produced. Actually, it's 21, not 20.01 cents for every kilowatt hour produced. Right now, the rate is about 13 cents that we're all paying. But that changes. So,
Is that 21 cents or 0.2 of a cent?
no,
21 cents?
20.1 cents,
Okay.
201. And that's the way it's written.
It's a pretty steep rate.
Okay, that's giving us a higher rate than we are paying. But, yeah, okay. And therefore, the kilowatt hours times that rate gives us the revenue, which is roughly $55,000 in the first year and $42,000 in the 25th year, because it is reduced by 2% every year. And those are the numbers that you'll see on this sheet.
Okay,
All right? And I didn't bother to, I'm sorry?
The reduction per year is because loss of efficiency of the
Probably.
units?
Yeah,
Probably.
of the panels.
The thing is, these are their numbers and I accepted them.
Yeah, there's I don't know if it works out perfectly, but that's. something that they
Degradation.
Use for degradation. of the
Degradation.
panels.
Right. Okay, let's see. So, now, the proposal assumes that the $546,490 would not be borrowed. So there is no provision in their numbers for the cost of the money.
Not borrowed from them.
There is
We can
no,
go to a bank and borrow.
no.
She's
I'm not
saying
saying
their
that.
Cash figures, not financial.
What I'm saying,
Yeah.
Corinne, is it right?
Yes, so
Their
it's the same thing.
calculations.
Yeah.
Are based on no cost of money.
Mhm.
All right? And using their calculations, they conclude that after 25 years of operation, and you'll see their numbers, though I'm afraid they're awfully hard to read here, but I can also email this to anybody who would like it. And I will certainly email it to whoever is the recording secretary for the minutes. You start out slightly negative, you start having a positive cash flow using their figures. And if you add up everything cumulatively for 25 years, their number is $888,120 over 25 years net plus to the town. Okay, so if anybody has any more questions on that, I'll try to answer them, otherwise we'll move on. Okay, so this spreadsheet has some of the things that I believe were left out of their calculations. So, for example, I assumed, and I think I can even read this off of here, that we would need to calculate the value of that money, and I just did it as a mortgage over 25 years. And because most of the mortgage calculators that I could get did not like using $546,000, 490, you know. I did some assumptions and some extrapolations so that the numbers are pretty close. As of today, the borrowing according to Mother Internet, is $5, is 5%, 5.25%. So that's the interest rate in here. Obviously, that can and might change. But roughly speaking, the cost to borrow that money and have it self-liquidating over 25 years is 45,000, now should be the classes, $45,084 the first year. Now, the next thing that is in this spreadsheet that is not in the presentation from Everleaf is insurance on the project. And that was estimated, even according to the president of Everleaf, or yeah, whatever, Greenleaf, to be $7,000 a year. All right. And then the maintenance, which I guess had been discussed at the Board of Finance. The figure that was given to the first selectman when he made the inquiry was $20,000 a year. Right? So 45,000 plus 7,000 plus $20,000 goes into your numbers for the very first year. The very first year, we are in the hole for $16,000, even though we did have a revenue of 55. Now, the next year, my spreadsheet assumes that we receive a grant of $163,000. And so the face of the mortgage, if you will, drops down to a lower number. So, in fact, I think I have that number here. Let's see, our annual cost of borrowing, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's now, 28, no, anyway, I'd rather just speak to this. So I took that out, calculated a new mortgage amount, and the borrowing cost is $28,260 a year, plus $7,000 for insurance and $20,000 for maintenance. We lose $600 that year. The third year, because of these minor adjustments, the tariff is coming, the revenue is coming down slightly every year. These other factors are more or less remaining the same. The loss starts growing in the third year. It goes up to we lose like $1,000, $1,729. You'll see that this column, on the far right side, that's your, basically your annual revenue or loss. And if you add up all the columns for the 25 years, our total loss is $293,233.73.
So it sounds like it's not really a project worth doing.
Well, I wouldn't go that quick. I wouldn't go that quick at all. Go ahead. I
Well-
have a few comments.
Well,
But there are a lot of issues.
I can't speak absolutely for this, but when we went over the maintenance thing before the board changed, the maintenance
We weren't gonna do.
we were not gonna do because it didn't cover anything of interest to us.
Well,
So if you,
if you
so
have a
one would
different,
have to revisit what the maintenance
all
covers.
of these issues can be revisited. The pieces that are in here that are, as far as Greenleaf is concerned, pretty firm, is that we still have a potential for getting the $163,000, though that has not been confirmed. That is just a potential at this point. But
So no grant, nobody
that's
applied
the
for
grant.
it.
That's what we're referring to as a grant.
Yeah, I know, but did we apply and get it?
I don't have that information.
That wasn't,
What I do know is it has not been granted.
We don't have, the money wasn't given out, but I think it was,
No, the
No, it
question
has
is,
not
was
been
it granted or was it not given
It
out?
has not been confirmed.
Okay,
from Eversource.
no,
From
that
Greenleaf.
comes from,
Greenleaf said that the 163,000, which he felt we had a very high likelihood of getting, but he was quite clear, it has not yet been confirmed.
And the 163,000 would come from Eversource. That grant
Yes.
would be, okay.
So
Yes.
shouldn't we be talking to Eversource about that?
Well, I
Makes
think
more
we need to understand where we want to go, and then
Right,
you
right.
can all
If-
decide
But I
what you
think-
want to do about everything.
But I mean, if we choose Greenleaf, if we choose Pope Energy, there's another one that I know, it's called Green Sky, that has done this for a town called Killingly
Mhm.
in Connecticut, and it was successful for them. You know, every one of those, it's still always gonna be, we'll always be, getting a grant from Eversource, because that is the distributor of our energy here anyway. We're always gonna sell in this area, always sell to Eversource, right?
Yeah.
So Eversource is kind of the central one for all
So
of
just to
them.
bring your focus back, Eversource has confirmed that we get 20 cents plus.
That's the pay, but
The pay,
that's
they
not
have
the,
confirmed that for
Okay.
us.
So you just need to.
They have
firm
not
up the
confirmed the
grant.
163.
Right,
So, anybody else? wanna speak
and only
first?
for 20 years. Because after year 21, they start to drop off and it changes in there.
Well, in the end, we have to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples.
Exactly.
So if the maintenance is 20,000 a year, what does that maintenance include compared to another company? Are we gonna pay for the maintenance? Are we not gonna pay the maintenance?
Yeah.
So we'll probably have to run those numbers without the maintenance.
I mean, my
I
understanding.
can run those, I can run any numbers that you want to right now, because it's all sitting here in a live spreadsheet.
Right,
But the point is that you probably will need to maintain this
yeah,
facility.
to the
No,
cost
that
of
is
20,000.
correct, but what they presented as maintenance was like.
Yeah.
I
mm,
don't know that they presented this $20,000 maintenance number. I believe this $20,000 maintenance number was gotten by Dave Barger in another discussion. But he
No,
gave
but
it
we
to-
went over what the maintenance
You're talking
covered.
about the
Right, yeah,
Board of
what the
Finance?
Maintenance covered, and it was it really was like smoke and mirrors. in my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
what it- What it did.
I don't,
Because really,
I-
it's,
was there-
so you
was
have the
there a-
panel, you have the inverters. And if a inverter goes bad, I think they're like $11,000 a piece, you know, you could replace two a year. If you had a really bad year and still pay just a little bit more than what you would pay for the policy, right? So common sense would say
yeah,
X that. But so a few things, your numbers are based off from 25-year full money borrowing, which we have to look at that.
Right,
But what if the town kicks in $300,000?
I know, but it's still the town's money, so you're
No,
still.
no, I
borrowing from the
understand
town.
that, but there's a big difference because we don't pay ourselves interest.
Don't we get interest on our money?
We get interest on our money, but you know, are we in a town, are we in the money, are we in business to invest our money and live off interest?
I can't address that.
But
I
you know what I'm
just
saying?
know that we're
I'm talking about general fund money. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from that, but let's look at it as, I'm talking about borrowing for a note for this project. So if we put in 300, I'm just using a number, 300, because that's the sales price. Take 300 off that, well, now you're financing the balance to 245,000.
Yeah,
But then,
but
but
Greg,
then, so then
don't you
we're at
realize
five.
we're not
hold on,
having
hold on.
$300,000
Hold on.
earning money in the bank?
Let Greg finish.
Oh, of course, but I just want,
Yes,
before you
but,
proceed,
but,
yeah,
yes,
you do,
no, I understand that,
good.
yes. That's not up for debate.
no,
Of course, it makes money. But at the same point, you know, I think the town has obligations to spend that money and not just live off the interest, right?
Be-
Because then we would never spend any money out of the
No.
general fund.
yeah.
But with that being said, you know, so I think that we, as a group, should come up with. And it's kind of hard, a suggestion to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance. As far as how much can we use towards this project? Cause that's important.
that's question
Two
number
of
one.
5%, yeah.
Right here.
5% is probably a commercial rate. I think town can get 3.5 or
I can
4,
fill that
but we
for
have to
3.5
go
right here.
around.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that's important. And then, the insurance, I struggle to think it would cost 7,000 with Kerma, but it may, but we should get what that increase would be.
Yeah, who
Corona?
determined the 7,000?
Excuse me.
It's just a
That was the
suggestion
number
from
that came
Greenleaf.
from,
Corinna
Greenleaf.
has some of this.
Well, the money that the town has in funds, the interest it brings, at least when I was still on the Board of Finance, was so minimal. Because at that point, the town did not want to invest it in any funds that would bring a substantial amount of
And it was
interest.
also before the Fed raised the interest rate.
In last November, the interest rate for different kind of mutual money market was much better than the 0.3% or whatever the town is getting. So I don't know if that was changed by now, but
I don't know.
when we take interest into account, we also have to take into account if it's a 0.3% interest
And there's,
versus,
yeah, and again, my
or
opinion, and
4.3.
I'm not arguing for this particular project.
Mm.
I am arguing for solar somewhere in some shape,
Mhm.
some form. However, that being said, I think we have to, this is a great baseline, and you can only go off from what we know today,
Mm.
right? There's some, assumptions, you have to
All-
go with only the knowns, right?
By the way,
But-
the assumptions are on your last page, they tend
Yeah.
it out separately.
Yes. So, I think when we go back, if we change a few of those factors, it's because, again, I'm only talking for myself, but if we net zero after 25 years, but we get the benefits of having a solar system, I personally am okay with that. I'm not looking to make money. It'd be great if we did.
I
for
think we're
sure.
jumping a gun there.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, based on these numbers, right? So this shows a loss. This shows a big gain. This shows a modest loss. If we end up somewhere in the middle, personally, I'm okay with that. I don't want to speak for anybody else. But, you just have to be careful of all these numbers, right? We have to be careful of this 888,000. We've got to be careful of the loss of 293. And these are, I trust Daly's number honestly more than I trust
Yes,
Greenleaf's because they're
Mhm.
selling a project that's just called a spade a spade. But
but I think
I
that,
just want to put that in there for discussion.
wouldn't it be just good to get different proposals
Yes,
and compare the proposals?
yes.
And also look if there are other grants available besides Eversource, maybe grants from the state or Fed. And then
or-
go to the town and say, we have 3 different proposals. This is what they do.
So,
Can we borrow any
Yeah.
money or can we get any money from the general fund?
so I would suggest we give Daly,
More
some
homework?
different data. So let's do a projection run let's get a price from Kerma that we should be able to get within a couple days.
Mhm.
Just to see, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but let's
I
let's
think
get a
if you
number.
want to look at the areas that are certainly ripe for analysis, if anybody has the original proposal for maintenance and 2 or 3 different bids on it, that would be a very easy one to toss in there and would be better than this rough number. And you'd have actual, action items next to it.
For what?
And for insurance, somebody ought to be able to, reach an insurance vendor who will give us an insurance
Yeah.
number. And you can put any interest borrowing rate on any face value, but you can't really change the $546,490.
Undoubtedly.
And I would point out that you need, when you're looking at your numbers, not to say, but numbers don't count, because that's all we're doing right now in this spreadsheet is counting numbers.
Yeah.
And then when numbers don't count, we can talk about philosophy and the meaning of green and one thing and another.
Yeah,
But
again, the gross project cost of 546,490 is just one proposal.
that is only
Correct.
one
So
proposal
they
from
might
one
have a
vendor.
different one and some might have, so that
And
number
the
can
20
change
cents,
too.
may or may not be there with a different
Yeah,
vendor.
yeah.
And certainly the 163, if it were to come through, it's
Well,
unique to this project.
we're also missing a big, in my opinion, a big portion of the cost here could be, prepping a site for it.
Yeah.
What is it gonna cost us to get rid of 7,500 yards of wood chips?
Well, we have. a
I
town-
think that was
Cost in there.
briefly discussed back then.
Right, but I don't know if numbers were put on any of those discussions, and if
I
they
don't think it
were,
were.
I can put them into a spreadsheet for us.
Well, what is the 546,490 gross project cost? That did not include, prep of the site?
It did not, as far as I know.
No.
This one right here, just for that one space in particular.
Yeah, according to the president of Greenleaf, he never
Yeah, which
discussed with
space?
me any of these other locations.
Okay.
Right, so I'm,
I have no
You know-
numbers on other locations.
what
And
location, I
which
think the
space
location.
is it?
It is the one, no, I don't know where all these other spaces came out, but in this presentation that this spreadsheet came from, he has a photograph with a photoshopped array on it.
Which is
And
where
it's-
we don't want it.
And
Yeah.
It's
which
down where
is-
the.
It's
by
right
pond,
below the
Right,
swimming
they
pool.
flood,
Okay,
By Hollenbeck and on that prime farmland up by the pool.
yeah, so,
okay.
Now, we have a big parking lot up there too, right? Okay,
Yes.
and in the summer, it gets hot, your car when you leave it there, right?
Not-
So why not build some shade there with a array?
That's a great, they do that a lot in the cities all the time.
Yeah, all
Make
the time.
carports out of
Yeah.
it, so there's
Same
definitely.
thing on the parking lot at the school, huh?
Mhm.
And, I mean, there's a lot of creative ways to do this, you know?
Right, so what I'd like to suggest is that what we have here are, I believe, pretty close to apples. And the number of opportunities that the town has for other types of green opportunities are many, and they have benefits that are not at all reflected in the green leaf approach.
Mhm.
And also something for us to keep in mind when we're talking green is that green almost always means carbon related. In other words, you are reducing carbon by putting up solar panels. We do not use carbon for our electricity. We use water power. So one of the things that came out this week is that a number of the dams in Connecticut are no longer producing hydropower. We are. And there is one also down in Kent that is using hydropower. And so this does not replace any carbon burning. This doesn't clean up the atmosphere if you look at it as they usually do, location specific.
So you're saying that the power station down here by the bridge only makes enough electricity for this town?
Oh, no, it literally goes into the grid.
Right. So but into that grid with other fossil fuel burning plants.
There are almost no fossil fuel burning plants on the Housatonic until you get seriously south of Kent.
But it goes beyond Connecticut.
It goes around the United
So
States.
where
except for
I'm driving
except for
is that
Texas.
you are replacing them, maybe not local, but you are replacing them from somewhere.
Yeah, there's, Cricket Valley over in Harlem.
That's all trucked in.
Yeah, that's natural gas.
Yeah, I've seen it. I
There's a
just
big
drove
one
by it.
the one that blew up down in Middletown was the OMG built.
Mm.
Another one that I worked on.
Right,
further
I
down
just
the
meant
river.
location
Yeah,
specific.
yeah. And I didn't get.
Well, and it doesn't mean we're getting our electricity
Specifically.
from here
Well, I'm
because
just saying,
the contract I have, I get my electricity from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
specifically, and only.
And I'm pretty sure it's not solar from Oklahoma.
But yeah, the point well made, no, undoubtedly, but
Thank
I was just making a.
But anyway, there are
point.
many other options. So all this is doing is giving you some additional information and fresh calculation on the one project that I think we have been asked to address as well as do many other things, right?
Well, is that the question? Have we only been asked to address one project?
Well, I
We
think that's a
have
starting
been
point
asked to
because it's
address
on a
this
timeline.
project,
project.
and then there are so many other things that this committee might want to get into.
Right. So I guess, yeah, this is a great conversation here because, we are, we're going back to the second item on the agenda to figure out what is our intent. If we find that this project, as proposed by, Evergreen,
Greenleaf, yeah.
Greenleaf, isn't,
I think evergreen sounds good. It covers it
yeah,
all.
me too. Maybe we'll go to Evergreen next, right?
Green
If
source.
we find that, hey, this really isn't what we are looking for. The committee should regroup and figure out what we want, what else is available.
Well, back then when it was on the table, I did speak to the first selectman of North Canaan before Brian Oler,
Oh,
Brian
Charlie Prodi.
Charlie Brown, yeah.
Roddy, yes. And what they did was they didn't buy it, they're leasing it. I got myself a little bit into hot water for having that conversation but I think it's maybe something to consider too. Henry kind of nixed it right away because the return was not as high, but also neither was the expense.
Mhm.
And
I
that's-
think it's.
And that's a very valid point. to go on the coattail. I like the idea of owning, just I won't even get into it. But, you know, leasing at no expense to a taxpayer, somebody else gets the money, but we get the benefit of having this system.
Mm.
So is that something that is,
Well,
when you look
again,
at it, if you look at it in that direction, I don't know, that definitely strikes a chord with me.
Or
So,
it might be when it
Chris-
goes to,
Well, I was just like going to say, Chris, maybe what the committee would prefer to do is to take on each of these areas a little more separately, because you see the numbers now. You can absolutely give me any new numbers that anybody comes up with, and I can, in an instant, recalculate them for you, and you can see what the impact of a more specific maintenance or a better adjusted insurance policy or a difference in interest rates, all those things, easy peasy. But the other thing that you seem to all be looking for are, what are the other
options.
options that we can use in town? And they're probably not limited to solar arrays. They're probably going to be largely dominated by rooftop facilities, so that you don't have some of the maintenance issues that you do when something is on the ground.
Mm.
And then there are other new factors that are very important. There is, for example, a new metering system, which we may want to look into and take advantage of. Then there are battery options. So if we were to put something on a roof, like the emergency center or the school, wherever we put it, if we combined it with a battery pack, Tesla wall, whatever we wanted to use, there's some enormous opportunities for saving. And we can all take whatever part of this we want to investigate, but I think we can't necessarily just look at numbers and ask ourselves questions about other places, because it's not very helpful. It's not gonna be.
I would say also, though, that if our charge in this committee is to look at this proposal,
Yeah.
even just to look at this proposal
Mhm.
and to determine whether it's good or bad, we still have to look at other proposals. I mean, we would need to do our due diligence.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would suggest, Daley, you pass that article that you had sent me at one point and include the people with the battery storage, I think in Canada,
Mhm.
where it's
That's-
just an amazing, it's such
It's
a
what they're doing
basic
in-
concept.
It is.
That's mind blowing to me, how
Yeah.
beneficial it is, and like, why doesn't everybody do this? But
Yeah.
I found this thing. it was
And there
very
are better
inspiring.
things now. I mean, that is a pretty well recognized project. It's going on in Vermont. And Vermont has decided that it was more cost effective to give backup batteries. Tesla walls, I think, were the option, but it could also be the matrix option, to rural homes, so that they're on the grid, but they would have enough electrical backup to support their homes for emergency purposes for the time frame that they frequently have their power down, rather than trying to only strengthen their grid, their distribution system.
Uh,
And in fact, it's just been launched. It's just
yeah.
beginning now, but it's a
Is
terrific
that
idea.
the same one that it was? Because of the concept of it is, so the homeowner has the right to that power. But if there's extra, it gets fed back to the grid, because remember, the power plants need to be built to a peak. So they idle 98% of the time, and they can't keep up 2% of the time, and I'm just making up those numbers,
And
but it's.
that is a
majority,
different-
They build
that's
it
a
to the peak.
Different, but a very important concept, and I don't think everybody wants to go into all the concepts at one time, but simply put, the residential use, not the office use, residential use starts at a fairly high level early in the morning when everybody gets up, and around 9 o'clock it drops down to a fairly low level. But then around 6 o'clock at night, it goes higher than it was in the morning. People are home, they're running appliances, and so it's very high. And this is sometimes called a gooseneck. Somebody else told me, no, it's called a duck neck. So you can choose that. But at any rate, if there are ways that smart meters and storage will allow individual homes, you could also do this for other facility, you could do it for a school, but anyway, to use your battery first thing in the morning and then switch to building your battery up off the grid when the grid has excess power. And so you're building your battery up during the day, and then around 6 o'clock at night, you are using your battery in your home. The overall use and need for electricity is greatly reduced.
You're still using the same amount of electricity though.
I think,
But the problem is
Yes,
if they
it
build
is.
the new
That's
plant,
true.
I know, yes, you do. you
Whether
are.
you're using it from the battery or the grid or whatever, it's
But the
still the
grid-
same amount of
But
electricity.
the grid is burdened by the peak
By the
times,
demand.
and that is why
Yeah.
there's all this pressure to build these new plants. It is not for the overall use, it's for the peak use.
for the demand, right? Yeah. So that's their, the other thing that I find amazing in their business model is to, shell out all kinds of money and, lighting fixtures and factories and schools and, low, energy use, electric motors and, all, just to prevent having to build another
Mhm.
power plant.
Right,
It's a lot cheaper to go, set up every single, big building in Torrington with new lighting. The cost of, hundreds of millions of dollars rather than
build
building a
another
plant.
plant.
If the town is looking,
Yeah, right.
if the town is looking to save money, have we done an inventory of lighting and everything in the town? Has that
I
done?
guess-
Historically,
was,
we
right?
have
Wasn't
a few times.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are we
last was.
solid with all the type of lighting and such and now?
To the best of my knowledge, we
Okay.
were. I don't know that that's the case anymore.
Maybe we need a new energy audit. Might be worthwhile doing. The town, has anybody talked to this town of Killingly? Okay, so here's this article here. It's a multi-year project for them. They're going to have cost savings on their solar panel, their solar project of $200,000 a year.
Yeah, but it's a bigger town too.
Yeah, it might be a bigger town, but, I don't know the size of the arrays. We might have a smaller. Does anybody
And that
even know
was-
what our electrical costs are?
It's always good to talk to other towns and see what they're.
yeah,
But they've done this project.
Correct.
This entire summary was based off of 13 months or 11 months of.
I think it's
power
like
bills.
85,000 a year.
Oh, yeah, and the
Excuse me?
presentation.
85,000 a year total for municipality?
85,000 a
I
year.
think, and I
Okay.
could be wrong on that. Maybe does that sound right? That sounds.
I don't remember.
If it's 85,000 and this thing produces 55,000 total at the maximum, there's never a winning. A savings.
Then maybe I'm,
There's never a savings.
then maybe I'm.
Well,
wrong.
we
Maybe-
need
I
to make
think-
sure that the numbers are right.
I might, I'm
Yeah.
just shooting from my
Okay.
memory.
Why was this proposal made for 462 solar panels?
Because, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's my understanding, and I never sussed it out, but that at that location, that's,
Is that what
set up the
physically could
most
be
that
put up
would
on the-
fit. No, it's not the fit there, it's the lines running over because it's not
The power of the
the
actual,
power to get
where they
back
would
into
put
the
it.
grid.
Oh,
It's not, there, even though there's
So
the
we couldn't feed it
three-phase
more
overhead
current.
lines, they don't feed to them, they feed to the local, which is.
so
the same.
that's the other, good idea of breaking it up somewhat is that you're not confined by that.
And this
You
is
could
what,
actually-
as I read through the Killingly project, they have solar panels on the highway department, on the high school. They have them on the intermediate school. They have, the school district administration's car park canopy. I mean, they broke it all up. Okay, so maybe that's why they had that issue. I have no idea. I'd be more than happy to reach out to Killingly
That'd be
and,
great.
ask them, tell us about the project, okay?
Yeah, I
That would be
mean,
great.
Yeah,
no sense reinventing a round wheel if there's one already out there.
yeah, I mean, it seems like it.
Okay, let's go to, let's move on here to, we can just, this will be brief, propose or potential sites.
Well, thank you, Daily.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Daily, for that.
Doing that.
Appreciate it. So again, the proposed site,
Can I jump to Daily just for a second?
yeah,
So it seems like the information that we actually have on this proposal is minimal at best. Is that safe to say? Detail wise?
They did not include insurance. He
But
verbally gave
detail,
me-
like, do we know, like I got an email from Greenleaf, that was the same one that went to the Board of Finance, but I never really saw like a contract or like anything much
Well,
in
in the file
writing.
that I have, there are some documents there, but none seem to be binding
Okay.
as contracts. But I'm not a lawyer.
There was a, what do you call it, where you?
Letter of intent.
Yeah, letter of intent with, no compete clause, I
Okay.
think, in it, but
Yeah.
that was
That's kind of what I was
from-
looking for, because
That was
you know,
from,
do we wanna talk to
February of 22, and it was
Right.
only good for
6
a
months
year.
or a year.
Yeah, I think a year, so.
Yeah.
so maybe we could, so I guess where I'm going with that, and then I'll definitely let you move on, but is this grant from Eversource available for a different company? to tie in?
I think we
That's
should
my
talk-
question.
Make reach out to Eversource directly and. find
Yeah,
out,
we need
you know.
to, yeah, and I can only think, yes, it would be if
Yeah.
they're,
They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care if, this guy is doing it or,
I wouldn't think so.
yeah. And if they do care, that's, you know, and it's like, conflict of interest or, you know, I mean, it's
Or
not.
do we need to know what the parameters are, who we should be
Who-
speaking to only.
Who's gonna reach out to Eversource and ask that question?
I'm doing Killingly.
Yeah, I can, you know, I don't know who to call. I have no idea who to call.
Yeah, I can't, I don't know either, but
And someone needed to
Okay.
do the insurance too.
yeah, that's Chris as well.
Okay.
I don't mind helping with Eversource, but you know, I need your permission.
Who, I mean, I don't even know. Call down in Berlin, down to the main office and,
Yeah, I
Start
mean,
asking
you can
questions.
just,
Is
Is there a contact already
have-
within the documentation?
we have an
Is there-
That
What
Eversource.
I
might be
would
the best
do is
person.
go back to Greenleaf and get the person who they recommend, because I would expect that number, the specific number, and all the details that are not necessarily in this documentation to be somewhere in that chain of information.
yeah, you're right, yeah.
Isn't
I
there
wouldn't
the
know the-
original proposal that came up under Henry? Isn't there any?
I can show you this, I can leave the file with you.
And yeah, unless there's, you know,
Is
unless
there-
that's not complete. And I
This,
don't,
this file?
right,
Well, there are 3 different, you know, proposals and they're at different dates. What I did was speak with the president himself. And he said, discard for the purposes of our discussion and our analysis, discard all of these and use this one specifically. And he emailed me a brand new copy and we went through it together.
okay.
So is that something that is emailable to other people who haven't seen it so
can-
that we
This
can?
whole
Well, we have to
file?
scan
That's
that,
what
that's a lot too.
Just the one that
He-
the
what he-
person said was, this
That
is
is
the
what
one
you
that
have.
we need
That's
to
this
use.
one right
That's the one you have.
That's this,
That one piece of paper.
one piece of paper.
Yeah.
There's no other words.
There are words. There are a lot of words in here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think before you make a bunch of copies, whoever is interested should take the file, and spend a little time with it.
Mhm.
Because otherwise you're just killing trees.
But the file is not digital. It's just,
No.
No, right,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
someone
saying.
who would
If it
have to
were
scan it.
digital, you know, you'd all have it.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we can scan it, I think we should scan an email.
Well, I think you should read it before you scan it here.
Yeah.
No, he meant,
Here you go.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a lot in here and there's a lot of,
I'd like to see that top piece right there.
With the map.
That one we have, that's digital.
That one, I
would
do,
you like to
I
take it
saw-
and look at it?
sure.
Okay.
There you go.
Melissa's very thorough. She's very, very thorough, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's definitely, Emily, we definitely have that, I think that's the same one that the Board of
That's pretty-
Finance.
There are 2 or 3 that look the
given.
same. We have to get the date.
So this is the parking lot?
No,
Is it
that's
for
the
I
place.
would need to
This
get
is the
it
parking lot.
lot?
in an email
It's a
again.
road
No, no,
here.
no.
Here, yeah, okay, gotcha. And so that's like a prime spot, right?
Uh,
For recreation, huh? Cause it's a nice open field, right?
Yeah,
Is it, or is it really rolling?
well, it's
No.
prime agriculture, I think it's prime rec,
Yeah.
and it also floods down the bottom,
It
Yeah, I was gonna say,
floods
this is
down
a
here?
floodplain right
Okay,
here,
gotcha.
this line
Okay.
you see here.
which isn't the end all be all
No,
for
no,
solar
no.
fields, but at the end of the day, you really wanna have the hassle of the maintenance, cause when the floods comes with the debris, then the debris
Especially
gets stuck
with-
in it
Yeah, but how
With
much,
floods getting worse.
how much does it flood? Does it flood?
a lot
You mean like 3 feet?
at times, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit,
When we
floods
did
are- floods are
when we
getting
did our
worse.
walk there, it was.
that's bad then.
If you're around, you should
I
come
should go
up.
out there now. Well, I did propose we all go out there.
We are having a walking tour of the property
Oh,
after the annual Easter egg hunt.
Oh.
You should come up and walk the
When
property and
is
see
that?
what's the date on that?
And you have to dress up as the
23rd.
Easter bunny.
Uh-huh.
The Easter egg hunt is very short, I promise.
okay.
So when
10
is
minutes
it?
of food.
A lot of screaming kids.
10:45 on Saturday.
Can't do, I'm working the election early.
So
it's on
number
Saturday.
five,
Saturday.
I'm working Saturday, Easter Saturday.
Oh,
Great,
It's
okay.
early
I know.
election.
Let's get-
I'm working all the days.
Let's get
Full
finished up
hours,
here.
so I'm not walking anywhere.
I think, proposed or potential sites that, or it should be proposed versus potential sites. That, we should all be kind of keep it in the back of your mind and be creative.
are we talking about on this property or just in general?
I think in general, I mean, if we look at, rooftops and, any other property that's owned by the town.
I think we're gonna learn a lot from Killingly, you know? They did this already.
Yeah,
They've already publicized that they're saving 200 grand a year.
And I think Sharon is just about to do something, if I followed that correctly, so,
They're about to do something?
yeah, they just
Like
passed
next to the
the.
school and
Can't
then.
remember.
yeah.
Do you know who is doing that in?
I don't, but I think we can find that out.
Okay, well, I'll check with them too then, huh?
I think they're putting something on the school or just to generate
to- I
the
guess
electricity
next to the
for
school,
the
next to
school
the
or
school,
next
yeah.
to the school. I think with putting anything on roofs, we have to be careful how it's
So as far
installed.
as the rec
Because-
site, I still strongly recommend the chip pile location as far as the lowest impact to the property.
Mhm.
You don't wanna handcuff the rec commission's future by this
Right,
25 year
absolutely.
physical plant when
Mm,
out by the road has, so you have multiple benefits, although it's a chip pile, we gotta deal with that one way or the other. But, it's really not usable land.
Is it big enough
Should be.
for
I think it'll
this
fit.
proposal?
Yeah, I think it'll fit in there. Doesn't need to be a perfect square, just needs to be a certain square
How
feet.
about the parking lot area out there? So isn't that a good spot?
Well,
Well,
the
that's something
problem-
we can, I mean, that's something we
Yeah.
should
I'm with
consider.
you on the
you know?
parking.
Think about-
Why not utilize?
Well, no, we can look at that, but
Like,
just keep in mind when and I love that concept more than anything. But with that comes extra cost because now you have a structure
It
where
has to
these
be a
things
little
just
higher
sit on the
up.
ground.
It has to be higher up.
So, you have snow load and structure and shed and all that, which it really should, I'm completely in favor, but maybe at this site for step
And then
one.
furthermore, the one about capping the landfill. If there was no engineering issue about that.
They do it all the time. I
Yeah,
mean,
there was like I said, Lee Baldwin forward texted me a link and I'll pass that on to everyone where you can,
That seems to
read
be
the
an
article.
absolute great spot to
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
did you email out the agenda?
I didn't.
Okay,
no,
I-
it was posted on.
on the website,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
no, that's fine. I just,
got it.
I got it from the town website too. I just wasn't sure because sometimes my email falls off.
Right, I get.
Yeah,
Okay, one other thing that we need to decide on here is our next
Any-
meeting.
Any public comment?
Yeah, any public, any,
I don't think we even have any public on here, but
Is anybody there on Zoom?
I don't believe so. No public comment.
okay, how about,
Next meeting. So, did you suss out, is there a deadline to this project?
There was
Anything that
originally.
you saw? We heard June, but I don't know if that's.
So that-
could you find anything in there?
in there was nothing that turned out to be relevant when I was speaking with.
It might be in
The
there.
president
Here's where
really
it
was
says
the
right
one
here.
who
Where?
clarified everything and what was intended and that wasn't
Yeah, I know
exactly
the
the
price
date, et
thing,
cetera,
but-
et cetera.
Oh,
So as far as
Oh,
actual
oh,
dates are
the grant.
concerned, if you would like that to be
The whole
something that I
thing
follow up
was
on,
under like,
I will do that. and
either
I will
you do it
report
by
at our
June
next meeting.
30th or
I would love.
Yeah.
I see.
everything's out
Okay.
the window.
So do you need this fantastic thing back?
Oh, oh, I see where you're going.
I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this other than look at it and
And then,
throw
I think
darts.
it
I
goes
don't know.
back to Chris.
sure. Yeah,
Chris
yeah, it
must
is-
have a
It's
drawer.
the only, it is the only copy.
It's the only copy, so be careful.
Look through that, familiarize yourself with it. Maybe,
Scan something or another to make it electronic.
well, maybe there's an awful lot of,
There's a lot of paper
there's
here.
a lot of papers here, but a lot of it is Eversource,
Just
bills that
bills.
we don't need to scan.
So what I
don't
could
think
do is review this. Forget about the bills.
Yeah,
Unless they're pertaining to something having to do with cost, but you're shaking your head.
No, they
because-
have nothing to do with the cost.
Okay,
right.
so really what we need to do is figure out what the real proposal is
Yes.
within this mess.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I can
What
do that.
information do we have in writing compared to what we think or been told?
Okay,
And
Someone's
That's what I
going
would
to
your
check,
actual question for the Greenleaf, president is,
My question was it about, are we tied, it's the date? Is there a date we have to
the
commit?
date that we have to commit by.
okay, I will
That
be
was-
specific
Right.
with him.
Because
For some
we
reason,
have been led
June.
to believe it was June of 24 that we
That's
have
what I
to.
thought as well.
can someone check what is the total cost of electricity
Yeah.
for the town?
I wrote it down.
Okay,
I'll work on that.
okay.
When do we want to meet again? I was supposed to be out of town on the 27th, but I'm gonna be here, so, vacation.
Well, one thing I would really suggest is that we pick a day of the week and a time, because we all go to a lot of meetings. And if they start floating around, well, I'm here, there, and the other, we will never get together. But if Wednesday at this time works for everybody, rec committee meets later,
At
so.
7.
Yep. So,
Wednesday on a weekly basis?
I don't think so.
No,
but
I think it was,
monthly is fine with
Month,
me.
yeah, Wednesday monthly is,
Monthly or you
Well,
wanna,
monthly, the problem I have
we need
until
five
we know that answer, whether we have to meet a deadline, I would like to.
Every other
quicker
week?
than that.
every other week?
Every
For
other week.
starters, you know, and then
Sure.
definitely it'll. straighten
Wednesday,
itself
5
out.
o'clock every other week from today,
Okay.
starting now.
So the 27th works?
Yeah,
No, it's early voting, 10
Yeah.
to 6 o'clock in here.
Mhm.
Well,
You don't have a home and I'm
When
working,
does- When
so
does
I'm
early
out.
voting end again? I can't remember.
We have early voting on Tuesday, the 26th, Wednesday, the 27th, Thursday, the 28th. Friday is Good Friday, so nothing happens. And then we have early voting on Saturday, 10 to 6 again. And then the actual primary is on Tuesday, the 2nd. And then I'm gonna be cooked.
Okay,
Can-
right,
can
but
we,
respectfully, let me just suggest that we do have an option of being all zoomed,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And then we're not really tying anybody down too tight. Because if 2 weeks seems like a good period for us to be looking at, and Wednesdays are open.
Well, can we choose another spot?
or,
And
or.
we
I
can
know, but
also
I'm
do-
working, so
Okay.
I will not be attending.
That, yeah, well,
27th, what about April 3rd?
what is that? Is that a
That's a
Wednesday?
It is a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
The
Is
next,
it every other,
That's,
it's the
that's
next
fine,
one?
but. I'll
well,
be-
it'd be the next one.
be-
Yeah, right, that's,
Italy,
Oh,
what are you going there for?
they have telephone service over there.
No, Greg,
For about 9 days.
Really?
Greg, you
Okay.
zoomed in from New
I
Zealand.
did.
So-
So,
Italy is a
did.
better time difference, so.
okay, let's go with Daley's suggestion that we zoom it on the 27th.
Okay, I won't be attending.
Sure.
Yeah, that doesn't
I'm
help.
just saying, I won't
You
be
can,
there.
if you have questions, you can forward
Yeah.
them to us and, this will be, it will
And is,
be,
is the zooming part then available so I can look at
Yeah,
it
yeah,
Yes.
you can, yeah,
when I'm less fried?
yeah.
so are there, posting?
Or if nobody comes, I
requirements
can
having to do with Zoom.
sign into the
and
Zoom.
I will, I'll
Agenda
get that, yeah,
posting fun.
I will, get that straightened away with,
So
with
you're saying
Denise.
27th at 5 o'clock, but you need to find a different home. You can't do it here.
We're doing Zoom for
Yeah,
that
with
one.
Zoom, so.
So everybody is zooming.
Yeah,
Zoom is kind of hard.
27,
hate it.
24,
Must hate
5
it.
PM.
I might be a couple minutes
Zoom
late.
only.
It's parent teacher conferences. It,
Oh.
my ending for a conference is right around that time, but it's right at Callan, so.
Okay.
All right, so
That
one
was
more thing about the meeting in 2 weeks, would you like me, when I'm talking to the Greenleaf person, to find out who the Eversource contact is?
Please.
Shall I take that one up?
Yeah, I do have,
You can give me all the stuff offline that you
The-
have.
I made a copy of that Eversource,
I saw you just made a copy, but I didn't get one.
and his name on there is,
Whoops. Sean, ready?
Greg, do
Sean
you happen
Reddick.
to know the password for the Wi-Fi here?
I will make
Make a copy of it.
sure.
Maybe something.
Here,
I thought there was no password for one.
Yeah, there is a secure Wi-Fi.
There's a secure one.
I'm not sure.
Sorry.
So,
Epic Garden?
I'll try and find it out then.
There's a Canaan guest.
Yeah, but is it secure or do you just go on guest and you're in, then it's not secure anymore?
Unsecured.
Yeah, there is a secure. All right, I'll try and find that out because if, I don't really expect a lot of people coming for the early voting.
You really don't think so?
But it has to be done by a computer now, so it's
Yes.
a whole different game. Right,
I have to sign up.
you
for
will be
training.
with, yeah.
I'm your backup, apparently.
Okay. Do we,
I'll try
does
to keep
anybody
it the
have
way
any
it is.
So we
agenda items they,
Yeah, I was gonna say, so do we,
let's,
So if
give
it's
me a
dead,
handwriting
then I'll zoom
agenda.
in.
no, I'm just wondering, are there any other particular projects that people would like to work on? So for example, I could try to see who some vendors might be
Company.
for rooftops
Okay,
with battery backups.
yep.
And smart metering,
Absolutely.
those things, those three
Love
things.
building about that.
Yeah. But is anybody else? No,
I have
I might get a hold of
Couple
you,
of
'cause I
things.
think you could help me.
that I want to contact.
With first.
Well, that's what I was hoping to do, is show you how to get your feet wet, because I want to give you some of this stuff, because you'll jump on it. I know you will.
Okay, so we're gonna review,
We'll do a roof. Battery.
Other systems, other,
Yeah, I want to follow up on two things and if
meter.
that seems to be of interest, then we
Is
will.
there somebody here
pass
from
it
the
on.
finance committee?
Board of Finance,
Your board of finance, no?
actually Amy Wynn is supposed to
Amy,
be, but
yeah.
she couldn't make
But
it
she-
today.
Okay,
Right.
because, one of these issues is are there more projects we should really be considering, okay, so.
well, and that's.
No,
kind of the-
that's a separate
but,
issue though.
You know, but that's a great point, and this is where we historically have gotten in trouble is like, I don't want, I love the whole concept of this. I don't want to spin our wheels if this is already dead in the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, somewhere.
And, you know, statements have been made. You know what I mean? Like, we all have plenty to do with our time. Obviously, we all want to,
Yeah, but maybe
partake
we
in
also
this?
can convince them
yeah.
by saying we
You
have
know,
something
but
here.
you know what I mean? Like, it'd be
I know
great to
what
get
you
a
mean.
straw poll of, yes, we're interested, let's see what the
That's
options
all
are.
neat.
I'm good with
Do that.
that. Obviously, you can't commit
Or
to something
email,
you don't know all the details
Do you want to
to.
add anything to it?
But if
You
the,
wanna-
if the
wanna go-
concept, if
yeah,
the
yeah.
concept is, we're spending, you know, we're gonna put Cobble Road in and that's where we're spending our money. We don't have any money for this. That's important to know because then we don't need to do any of it.
But then.
We
that
go
needs
to
be-
alternative systems, maybe a lease or a rooftop battery or something else.
But
right?
doesn't that have to go through the Board of Selectmen to be presented to the Board of Finance?
It does, but you know, just a
Because
straw
we-
poll, maybe between the two boards, right? It's just like, where's your appetite for this?
Because if Amy is here, we can't just ask Amy, she can't speak for the whole
She
Board of
cannot, no.
Finance. I
But if you
happen to
did like a
know
straw
where
poll,
Amy
you
stands,
Put on
but
both agendas just to kind of get a suss it out. as
Well,
far as-
you know, I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna go back to this and, you know, what is,
And a lot of that we can answer, I think, with a little bit of work. That's kind of minor. But you know, the thing is, so my question of board finance, if we give you answers to all this, are you willing to put it to public vote? this particular project,
Or
right?
finance.
Or finance it,
Because
or
we
what
do have
have you.
money.
Because if we don't, you know what I mean, like, let's take our energy and put it somewhere else.
I don't
Because
think
this
we can
could
give
take,
them,
this could take a little bit of time. They're not gonna, obviously, we can't, hand tie them, right?
no,
But you can get a sense of
What's the
their
appetite?
interest. That's my opinion. I don't know what yours is.
My opinion
I-
is that there's an awful lot, the town needs a lot of work.
Mhm.
There's roads and bridges and,
So
But the
wouldn't
town
it-
will always need something.
Oh.
So wouldn't
So
it be
at some
helpful
point-
for us to know? I mean, having a
right, and
basic list.
I can,
So, but there's a couple things with that, right? The town is always gonna need work.
Right.
The town is very secure. In my opinion, we have basically no debt. So our income to debt ratio is unheard of. And a lot, I think of what Chris brings up should be long-term finance. Those should be 25-year, 30-year, 40-year. If you package them together, which I would suggest, and then go for a USDA grant of a 40-year
well,
cycle, maybe.
well, but before
Something like
we
that,
try
because
to
if,
just
because
lowball
otherwise
it,
you're never gonna get to any of this stuff.
I think it's the responsibility of the new committee on infrastructure to set what they believe their priorities are.
Mhm.
And then to put dollar numbers on them, and then how those dollars might be addressed, and I don't think that's what our job is here.
right.
We're here, as I
still,
understand it,
the
to
Bridge and
address
Infrastructure Committee is still weeding through
theirs.
everything that, trying to grasp, get a hold of what, everything that
Totally.
needs to happen.
Totally,
Uh,
and it's a very important process.
And there is a
So,
lot of money already
we
saved for.
don't really
some
need
of
to-
it.
For some of it.
But
So we
it's
don't
still-
need a list.
Well, we
Well,
will
it's
when
not
they
really
have
our
it,
purview,
but
really.
until then, we can address
This.
specifically this proposal, get some answers
Mhm.
for it. We can also, those of us who would like to do it, can propose some alternatives. Doesn't mean they'll happen this year, and in fact, probably in another 12 months, some of the technologies will be more tried. And I also have a couple of phone numbers that, I haven't gotten into yet, where people may be interested in having a small town like ours act as a beta site for some new types of installations. And if anybody else has any concepts or proposals like Killingly, we should look into them and bring them back here and be prepared to give, little presentations. But,
I think the other thing too is, potential, are there other potential grants?
So what
available?
happened to the idea of a grant committee? Why was that tabled?
Of which, Corinna?
The grant
The
committee?
grant.
it wasn't
Well,
necessarily tabled because there was even an article in the Republican
that-
American this morning about it.
Yeah,
I
And
haven't read
Chris's
that yet.
name is on it.
yeah.
I'll send it to you. I'll
I
send
would
it to you.
appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Because I think Judy was supposed to be the chairman, but then everything was tabled.
And, the
And
other
I-
thing I would say about your question about grants and proposals, I feel fairly strongly that you need to have your proposal established for the reasons, your priorities, and then see where the grant fits, rather than saying, where's the grant money, let's go chase it. Because that way I feel too frequently the tail wags the dog.
Yeah.
And there are lots of sources. There's
Actually,
a
both of you.
Yeah, no, I agree
story
with you.
came out this morning from Hayes and her $9 million for the area. We have all the ones from the state directly, which have nothing to do with Hayes. We have the ones from Eversource.
It would be good to, it would be good to identify if there are grants that this would fit into.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to point out. We need to get at least to the point where we know what this is,
Mhm.
what we would like to pursue, however we would finance it. And then we look for the grants that could go there. And there are different
Yeah,
grant sources.
In essence, I'm hearing you gotta be a little bit more shovel ready.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that. Sorry.
That's what I'm hearing.
I know, so let me try to be a little more careful with my words. I'm saying that I believe that this committee, just focused on solar, can look at solar alternatives that meet various criteria for our town, have dollar numbers on them, have vendors who have been vetted. That isn't shovel ready, but that is a prepared proposal and then see what grant options are available, including from the vendors themselves.
Right,
But you do have the state and you do have the feds and you do have the PURA, the people that take care of, you know, our
Public
utilities,
Yep.
our utilities. So there are many sources of funds. So I think getting the funding started is the wrong, that is letting the tail wag the dog. Now, I could be corrected.
But if we knew there was a particular, we can somewhat, if we have this
It goes hand
rough
in hand.
outline, they do go a little bit hand in hand, because then we could maybe tailor a particular.
No
Because
question
you
about it.
brought something to us, you know, and before I forget, like a future, you know, I feel like this is the most pressing because there may be a timeline.
Mhm.
But I would love to come out of this committee an educational aspect for our town. Like, I have a piece of property that I wanna, that I will need to go off grid and produce my own solar and have battery stores and whatnot. It's very difficult to find this information.
yeah,
You know, so it's almost to the point where if I wasn't forced to do it, I'd be like, screw this is so much work. Like, you can't even find where to grasp a hold, you know, you call this company, they wanna sell you something, but they don't wanna, you know, I just wanna educate myself, right? So it's a pick and choose, and I think if we can teach our town, you know, if we can make it easy to have an alternative energy source in our town. With this, we're talking about solar. I think that an aspect of that I would love to come out of this committee is an educational aspect.
So Greg, are
Um,
you saying that you are prepared to start at this?
Yes,
Are you gonna start this?
I would love to start that.
Well, then I don't know why we wouldn't all encourage you to do so. I can also send you some information. I have a whole
Yeah.
lot of it.
Yeah, and you know, and you'd be a big help because you have an electric vehicle and we've spoke a little bit about charging is, I have people that don't know where to start, even where to start. And there's
Okay.
different programs
It's 6:30.
that Eversource has that you can get, if you have a different meter, you can get different rates, but if Joe Q Public like me,
I know.
I don't know.
I
that
have a
stuff.
lot of those answers, but I don't think we're gonna use our
No.
time right now for
And I'm
that,
not, I'm
right?
not proposing that, I'm
Okay.
putting it
Well,
out there,
the
because if
one
we don't
thing
start
with the-
thinking about this outline, it's never gonna happen.
With the wagging, the tail wagging the
Yes.
dog, I mean, it might be that this is dead for the time being,
Right.
but maybe we find something with a grant that we can say, okay, we do this just for the firehouse, for the emergency
Right.
center.
Right,
yeah,
It
right.
doesn't cost the town and we start there, and once everybody sees how wonderful it is,
exactly,
then the school will want it and the library, and
right.
Yeah, we have to start.
so I think it goes a little bit hand in hand.
I do too.
So,
I do
that's
too.
it.
Okay, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Most. Second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we'll see you on the 27th.
Not too bad.
So if it's sent on the 27th,